Welcome to God's Rescue and Restoration Plan, Session 9. This one is Famine, Deliverance, and the deliverance is bigger than the problem. So here we go. I want to do a quick recap from the last session with Joseph. He was sold into slavery by his brothers, and he went through some tough times, ended up in the dungeon, but God is with him. And when Pharaoh had some dreams that he needed help with, Joseph and God was right there to take care of it, and Joseph becomes second in command in Egypt to Pharaoh. So when we left him, he's dealt with 7 years of plenty, the first 7 years, and now the start of the 7 years of a devastating and widespread famine is what's happening now. And that's where we are in the record. Before we go to that record, though, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about perspectives of the individuals involved in this record. I think it's important to keep this in mind as we go through that. God's perspective in this, what he's thinking about, his focus, if you will, within this record is really about his covenant. He's made a covenant with Abraham. He's God Almighty. He can tell the end from the beginning and declare it, and he always comes through. So he's got this one there. It's got to come through, and it's in jeopardy because of this famine. It's in jeopardy of not sustaining the bloodline of the Messiah. And he must be operating within the free will. He's got to honor free will. He wants to honor free will. He will honor free will. Somehow or other, it's got to be done through free will. So that's God's perspective. Joseph, he could really be bitter towards his brothers. You just think about him. They threw him in a pit, then they got him out, they sold him. They sold him to get rid of him. And the only reason they sold him instead of kill him is because they could get money out of selling him. I mean, it's just, he could be very bitter. He's probably would be longing for his family, his father and brother, youngest brother in particular. But he does appreciate what happened. The outcome is very powerful, and you know, it turned out okay in that regard, but still. Israel, his father, is just devastated by the loss of his son, by the loss of Joseph. He thinks he's dead. He's sure he got torn to pieces by a wild animal. And so he's very protective of the youngest. The love of his life is Rachel, and she had two children. One's Joseph, one's Benjamin. Joseph's gone, torn up by animals. So he's going to be very protective of Benjamin, the youngest. And then the brothers. They did a bad thing and they know it. They have guilt that's still lingering in them. And yes, it's been years, but that's still there. They know that they've done wrong and they have to keep it a secret, and they have done so. Uh, but there's still guilt that's lingering there. So that's where they're at. So I think that's a helpful perspective to kind of think about these points of view as we go through these records. Oh, I forgot one more. Pharaoh. Got to remember him too. He's grateful for Joseph. I mean, and God in Joseph. He's so grateful for that. It saved his country. Egypt would not have survived without God and without Joseph. It wouldn't have happened. And he knows that. So he is very grateful. And he lets Joseph do what he authorized him to do. And he's doing it. So there's that perspective as well. So let's pick up the record in Genesis 42, starting in verse 1. And this is the verse that we ended with last time. When Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, the famine's broad, it's devastating. It's in Canaan too, and they're going to starve. And there's grain in Egypt. So he says to his son, "Why are you looking at one another? Why are you standing around moaning and groaning? Get up, get to Egypt," he said. "Behold, I've heard there's grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy grain for us so that we live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he said some disaster might happen to him. And so the sons of Israel were among those who came to buy grain, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the one in power over the land. It was he who sold grain to all the people of the land. Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the ground, which is how they would do that to someone that they respected and wanted to honor. Verse 7, Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted like a stranger to them and spoke harshly to them. And as we read this, remember that in these conversations, Joseph is speaking the Egyptian language. They are speaking Hebrew, and there's an interpreter between them. So they're hearing Joseph speaking Egyptian, it gets translated to Hebrew, and then backwards the other way. That's how this is happening. So he sees his brothers, recognizes them, acts like a stranger, and spoke harshly to them. He said to them, "Where did you come from?" Well, they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he dreamed about them. Remember the sheaves of grain in the field and how they bowed down to his, and he remembered all that. He says to them, he's remembering that, and he says, "You are spies. You've come to see the nakedness of the land," meaning you've come to find out our weaknesses, our exposure, so that you can come in and attack us. That's what you're doing. You're spies. But they said to him, "No, no, my lord, your servants, we just came to buy food. We're all sons of one man. We're honest men. Your servants are not spies." And he said to them, "No, you've come here to see the nakedness of the land." But they said, we your servants were 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, today the youngest is with our father, and one is no more," which would be Joseph. And then Joseph said to them, "It's like I said to you, you are spies." He's not letting it go. So what's going on here? Why is he being so harsh like that? It's because God's got to work this plan to get Joseph and his entire family, everything moved into Egypt so that they survive. And it's got to be by free will. So the situation and circumstance needs to be set up so that Jacob has compelling reason to move everybody to Egypt and be comfortable with that and do it so that they can survive. And Joseph has a role to play in this, and he's playing it to the hilt. And I believe, and I'm certain that God is working with him. He knows what he's doing here, and he's working it. And he says, and he's relentless. It's like I said to you, you're spies. Verse 15, this is how you will be tested. We're going to find out. By the life of Pharaoh, you will not depart from this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you to get your brother. The rest of you will be confined as prisoners so that your words may be tested, whether there is truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies. If you don't do this, then I know that you're spies. Wow. And then he put them all together in custody for 3 days. They could stew about it. And then he brings them out on the third day and he says, "Do this and live, for I fear God." If you're honest men, we're going to flip this around a little bit. Let one of your brothers be confined. Not all of you. Let one of your brothers be confined where you are now in prison, but the rest of you go and carry grain for your hungry households. So I'm going to let all but one of you go, but I'm keeping one in prison. And verse 20, bring your youngest brother to me. In this way, your words will be verified and you will not die. And they agreed to do that. And then they said to one another, they're still in the room with them. They said one to another, "We are truly guilty. We're guilty concerning our brother because we saw the distress of his soul when he begged us and we wouldn't listen. We threw him into that pit and he was saying, 'Brothers, brothers, why are you doing this to me? Get me out of here.' And then we went to sell him to the Midianites. He said, 'Why are you selling me your son? I'll never see my dad again. Think of him.' And they just ate lunch." And they're saying now we're recalling this. Excuse me. "That's why this distress has come upon us." And Reuben answered them, saying, "Didn't I tell you, saying, 'Do not sin against the child,' but you wouldn't listen? So now, behold, his blood is required." It's coming back on us. Verse 23, but they did not know that Joseph understood them. He knows Hebrew. That's his native language, and he's bilingual, and he's listening to hear everything they said, but they don't know it. For there was an interpreter between them. So they saw the interpreter, the interpretation process going back and forth. So they figured he didn't know Hebrew. Why would they? Joseph, he stepped away from them and wept. He was overcome emotionally. He heard them say that, and it must have brought all kinds of memories flooding back into him and the emotion of it. And he starts crying. I got to get away. I got to step away. So I got to keep my composure to play my part. So he did, and then he returned to them and spoke to them, and he took Simeon from among them and bound him before their eyes. So Simeon, you're the one, and he binds him up, and they all saw it. Then Joseph gave a command to fill the bags with grain. He's talking to his man who's there. He's speaking Egyptian, so they don't understand what he's saying. So fill their bags with grain, put each man's money back into his sack. Give them back their money and put it in their sack, and to give them the food and to give them food for their journey. So that was done for them. So they loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed from there. As one of them opened his sack to give his donkey food in the lodging place, it's a long journey, so in the lodging place, en route, he saw his money. He opens up the bag to get some, and there's money in there. Behold, and it was in the mouth of his pack. And he said to his brothers, my money has been put back. Behold, it's in the pack. How did that happen? Their hearts failed them, and they're trembling. They turned to one another, saying, what is this that God has done to us? They're going to think that we're thieves. How, how, what is going on? They're just dumbfounded, and you would be. And they came to Jacob, their father, in the land of Canaan. They told him all that had happened to them, saying, the man, the Lord of the land, he spoke harshly to us. He treated us as if we were spying on the land. And we said to him, we're honest men. We're not spies. We're 12 brothers, son of our father. One's no more today, the youngest with our father in the land of Canaan. The man of the Lord of the land said to us, this is how I know that you're honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me and take grain for your hungry households and go. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I will know that you're not spies, but that you're honest men. Then I will give your brother back to you, and you will be able to trade in the land. But when they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's pouch of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their pouches of money, they were afraid. Wow. How can we even go back? How do we fix this? In verse 36, Jacob, their father, said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more. Simeon is no more because there's no way he's given him back. And you want to take Benjamin away. All these things have come upon me. I'm losing my family because of this. Reuben spoke to his father, saying, you may kill 2 of my sons if I do not bring him to you. Put him in my hands and I will bring him to you again. Trust me with Benjamin. I'll go. He said, my son will not go down with you, for his brother's dead and he alone is left. If some disaster happens to him on the journey on which you're going, then you will bring my gray hairs and sorrow down to Sheol. I will die. I will die if that happens. But the famine was severe in the land, chapter 43. It was severe. They had to do something. And when they had eaten up the grain that they had brought out of Egypt, their father said to them, well, go again, buy us a little more food. But Judah spoke to him, saying, the man warned, yes, warned us, saying, you will not see my face unless your brother's with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we're not going down, because the man said to us, you won't see my face unless your brother's with you. You send Benjamin with us, we'll go. But if you don't, we're not going, because there's no point. And Israel said, why did you treat me so badly by telling the man you had another brother? Why did you even have to say that you had another brother? Why did you say that? Then he wouldn't have known. And they said, well, the man asked. Yes, asked about it. He asked about our relatives, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? We just answered his questions. Could we have known, yes, known that he'd say, bring your brother down? Why would he do that? Why would we expect that? We were just answering his questions. Well, Judah said to his father, to Israel, his father, send the boy with me, and we will get up and go. Then we will live and not die. We're going to starve to death if we don't. We and also you and also our little ones. I myself pledged security for him. You may hold me responsible for him. If I do not bring him to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame before you all my life. For if we had not delayed, surely we could have returned there and back 2 times by now. We've been stewing about it, talking about it, arguing about it, thinking about it. We could have been there and back twice. We got to get going. We're going to starve. Verse 11, their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Let's do this. Take from the best products of the land in your bags. Carry down a present for the man, a little balm, a little honey, spices, myrrh, nuts, and almonds. And take double the money in your hand. Take back the money that was returned in the mouths of your packs. Perhaps it was a mistake. Maybe there's some kind of mistake. So take all of that money back, but then bring additional money too so that you can buy things. You don't use the same money twice. And take your brother also, verse 13, get up and return to the man. May El Shaddai grant you mercy before the man, so that he will release to you your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. If that's what happens, that's what happens. Well, verse 15, the men took that present, and they took double the money in their hand and Benjamin, and got up, went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. And he would have a place that people would come to that were buying uh, produce and buying their goods. And there he was, and there they came to him. In verse 16, when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the one over his house, Joseph speaking to the one over his house, bring the men into the house, butcher an animal, prepare a meal, for the men are to dine with me at noon. So he's giving his um, steward of the house, his servant, the one that's over his house, he's given him instructions, speaking in Egyptian language. So the brothers aren't sure what's going on, but he gives them directions. See, let's have him over for lunch at my house. So the man did as Joseph commanded, and the man brought the men to Joseph's house. Well, the men were afraid because they thought they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, it's because of the money that was put back in our sacks first time that we were brought in, so that he can accuse us and fall on us, take us as slaves along with our donkeys. He's gonna take us all. We are in deep trouble here. So they came near to the man who was over the house of Jacob or Joseph, and they spoke with him at the door of the house, and they said, oh, my Lord, we came down the first time to buy food. When we came to the lodging place going home, we opened our packs, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of the pack, our money in full weight. We brought it back in our hand. We brought it back. We don't know how that happened, but we brought it back, and we have brought down additional money in our hand to buy food. We don't know who put our money in the packs. We don't understand that, but here it is. And the man said, peace be to you. Don't be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your packs. I received your money. Then he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, gave them water, and they washed their feet. He gave their donkeys fodder, really treated them with respect. And they prepared the present for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they were to eat bread there. And just think about that. This is second in command of all of Egypt, and they've been invited to his house for lunch with him. Just think if you were invited to meet with the vice president of the United States, for those who live in the United States. This would be a really big deal. And they were a little concerned about it, rightfully so. So, verse 26, when Joseph came home, they brought the present that was in their hand to him in the house and bowed down to the ground before him. And he asked them how they were doing. How are you doing? Is your father well? The old man whom you spoke, is he still alive? And they said, your servant, our father's well. He is still alive. And they kneeled and bowed down before him. He lifted up his eyes and saw Benjamin, his brother, his mother's son, and said, is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me? And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. And Joseph hurried out, for he was overcome by affection for his brother. Emotionally, it just got to him. That's my brother. It's my young brother. It's been all this. And so he's just overcome, and he has to get out. So he looked for a place to weep, and he went into a room and wept there. He got off by himself because he's still playing his part. He's still got to play the part to get them to the point that Jacob will move everybody to Egypt. Then got control. He washed his face and came out. He controlled himself and said, serve the food. So they served him by himself and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians do not eat food with the Hebrews, for that's an abomination to the Egyptians. So there's several tables going here. Joseph's got his table, the brothers have their table, the other Egyptians got their table, all in the same room, but they're eating in different places. And they were seated before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men were astonished one with another, because they got him in order, got him in sequence. How do you know that? He sent portions to them from his table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. They drank and got drunk with him. Then he commanded the one over his house, saying, look, fill the men's packs with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in his pack's mouth. Put my cup, my silver cup, in the mouth of the youngest one's pack with his grain money, And so the man, he did according to the word that Joseph has spoken. So they're doing it again. They're loading up the money in the pack, but then putting that cup in there too, in Benjamin's bag. So as soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. And when they had gone out of the city, but were not yet far off, Joseph said to the one over his house, up, follow after the men. When you overtake them, ask them, why have you repaid evil for good? Why did you steal from us? Why did you do that? The way we treated you so wonderfully, and then you do this, you steal from us? Why'd you do that? Is this not that cup from which my Lord drinks and by which he divines as divines? You've done evil in doing this. So the man overtook them, and he spoke these words to them. And they said to him, why are you talking to us like that? Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from our servants that we would do such a thing. We're not going to do that. Behold, the money that we found in the mouth of our packs, we returned it to you from the land of Canaan. Why would we steal silver or gold out of the house of your Lord? Why would we do that? He with whom is found among your servants, let him die, and we also will be my Lord's slaves. They know they didn't do it. I said, right, you search away because that's not going to be there. But if you find it, kill him, whoever it was. And the man says, now also let it be according to your words. He with whom it's found will be my slave, and you will be blameless. So I'm not going to kill anybody, but whoever did it's going to be our slave, and you will not be held accountable. You will be blameless, and you can go. So then they hurried, and each man took his pack down to the ground. Each man opened his pack, and then he searched, beginning with the eldest, ending at the youngest. Really drew out the drama. And the cup was found in Benjamin's pack. And they tore their clothes. Are you kidding me? How could that be? And each man loaded his donkey and returned to the city. This is terrible. How did that happen? I don't understand. Benjamin, did you take it? Of course not. I didn't take that. How did it happen? Well, we got to go back. We got to talk to this guy. This is not good. So Judah and his brother came to Joseph's house, and he's still there. They fell on the ground before him, and Joseph said to them, what is this thing that you've done? Why did you do that? Do you not know that a man like me can discern, yes, discern by divination what happened? Don't you know that I can tell and figure it out? And Judah said, what can we say to my Lord? What can we speak? Or how can we justify ourselves? God has found out the iniquity of your servants. Behold, we're my Lord's slaves, both we and also in whose hand the cup is found. He said, far be it from me that I should do this. Joseph's talking. The man in whose hand the cup is found, he will be my slave. But as for you, go up in peace to your father. And then Judah came close to him and he says, let me talk privately with you. Oh, my Lord, please let your slave speak a word in my Lord's ear, and do not let your anger burn against your slave, for you are even as Pharaoh. And then he tells them the story of the conversation at home, and then he kind of concludes with verse 27. Your slave, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me two sons, and the one went away from me, and I said, alas, he is torn, yes, torn to pieces, and I haven't seen him since. If you take this one from me also, and some disaster happens to him, you'll bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. I'll die. So now, when I come to your slave, my father, and the boy's not with us, since his life is bound up in the boy's life, when he sees that that boy is not with us, he will die. Your slaves will have brought down the gray hairs of your slave, our father, with sorrow to Sheol, to death. For your slave pledged to be security for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him to you, then I will bear the blame before my father forever. So now, please let your slave stay. And said to the boy, keep me, not him, a slave to my Lord. Let the boy go up with his brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the boy is not with me? Then I would see the evil that will come on my father. I'll see him die. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood before him. He lost it. That was just too much. And he cried out, we're in chapter 45. He called out, have everyone go out from me. Everyone leave the room except for the brothers. So no one else stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And then he wept aloud, and the Egyptians heard, and the house of Pharaoh heard. He cried, and it was a big deal. Can you imagine what this was like emotionally for everybody? And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? His brothers could not answer him because they were dumbfounded at his presence. It's Joseph? Really? How could that possibly be? How can this happen? And they probably weren't quite convinced. So, verse 4, Joseph says to his brothers, come close to me, please. And now he's talking Hebrew, no Egyptian. So they come close, and he says, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now, do not be grieved nor angry with yourselves that you sold me here. Yeah, you did those things, and that wasn't right, but don't be angry with yourselves about it, because God sent me. He utilized that before you to preserve life. For these 2 years of famine's been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. We got 5 years to go. God sent this. He used me and gave me a role that provided an outcome that preserves life. God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on the earth and to save you alive by a great deliverance. So now it's not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, Lord of all his house, ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry, go to my father and tell him this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not wait. You will settle in the land of Goshen. You will be near me, you, your children, your children's children, your flocks, your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there because there are still 5 years of famine, so that you don't come to poverty, you and your household, and all that you have. Come down. Behold, speaking to them now, Joseph's talking to the brothers, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. I'm Joseph, and I'm speaking to you. You must tell my father of all my glory in Egypt and of all that you have seen. You must hurry and bring my father down here. He fell on his brother's Benjamin's neck and Benjamin wept on his neck. Gosh, what a moment. And then he kissed all his brothers and wept on them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. A family reunion that was never expected. What a moment. The news of this was heard in the house of Pharaoh. Joseph's brothers have come, and it was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his servants to be his counselors. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers, do this. Load your animals and go. Travel to the land of Canaan. Take your father and your households. Come to me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded to do this. Take wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones, for your wives. Bring your father and come. Also, do not let your eye look with regret about your belongings, for all the good of the land of Egypt, it is yours. So Pharaoh's going to send the moving vans down. The wagons, take wagons with you, extra wagons, take them with you, and produce, not well, what they need supply wise to make the journey and so on. And come on back, and you're going to get the best of Egypt. We're going to take good care of you. So the sons of Israel did so. Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh and gave them provisions for the way. He gave each one of them changes of clothing. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothing. He sent the following to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and food for his father on the way. It's going to be a big journey with a lot of people, a lot of stuff, and they're going to need provision to do that. And it was sent to him for that. So he sent his brothers on their way, and as they departed, he said to them, do not quarrel on their way. Don't you get into arguments about this. Don't slow down, just get it done. No quarreling. Verse 25, they went up out of Egypt, came into the land of Canaan to Jacob their father, and they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. His heart went numb because he did not believe them. And how would he? He was so convinced all these years that he had lost him. And how could he end up in Egypt in charge of things? Just way, way beyond what you could imagine. In verse 27, then they told him all the words of Joseph that he had said to them. And when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, came alive. Well, there's the wagons. Where'd they get the wagons from? Well, the story holds. There's evidence. It must be true. And Israel said, I'm convinced Joseph, my son, is still alive, and I will go and see him before I die. And now he's energized. His spirit of Jacob, their father, came alive. I've got something to look forward to. I have to see my son that I thought I lost. And Israel traveled, chapter 46, Israel traveled with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. He gave thanks, and rightfully so. And God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. He said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, because I will make you into a great nation there. I myself will go down with you into Egypt, and I myself will also bring you up, yes, up. Joseph will close your eyes. Joseph will be by your side when you die. So Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel put Jacob their father, the little ones, their wives, in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their livestock and their possessions that they had acquired in the land of Canaan and came into Egypt. Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters, his sons' daughters. So he brought all his seed with him into Egypt. He sent to Judah, they're getting close. He sent Judah before him. He sent him on ahead to Joseph to give notice before his arrival in Goshen. Okay, we're almost there, so Judah, go tell him. And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph prepared his chariot, went up to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. He presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a long time. Oh my goodness, what a reunion that had to be. My goodness. And Israel said to Joseph, Now I am ready to die, since I've seen your face that you are still alive. Chapter 47, starting verse 5, Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and your brothers dwell in the best of the land. Let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And then in verse 11, Joseph settled his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph provided for his father, his brothers, and all of his father's household with food according to the number of their little children. They were delivered from the famine. Ah, what a wonderful record. Let's think about these perspectives in the record that we just saw. God needed to secure covenants. He was focused on that. He needed that bloodline of the Messiah to stay going, and it was in jeopardy, but free will had to be honored. And did he do it? He sure did. He made that all happen. He had it all figured out, and Joseph played the role perfectly, and things happened, and it worked. Joseph, being bitter towards his brother, he sure could have been longing for his family. Well, he recovered with love and compassion. He was so compassionate when he reacted with his friend. Think how he was crying, and but he was loving and he was compassionate, and that powerful outcome provided the free will solution to make this all work. So Israel, the father, he's devastated by the loss of his son, protective of the youngest. Well, Israel received his son back. Is a very powerful man who saved all of Israel. And think about God, the parallel to what God does. God gave his son to die for us and received him back alive and powerful, and by so doing saved mankind. Similar story, isn't it? Brothers, lingering guilt, they were completely forgiven for what they did. And mankind is offered forgiveness through what God has done through Jesus Christ. Mankind is also offered forgiveness. And the Pharaoh, he extended his gratitude to the family. He recognized it was God and it was Joseph. So gratitude to the family, gave the best to them. And God has done the same for us. He's given us the best. Eternal life and all that goes with it down the road. Now, I want to go to the timeline that we've been working with, and I want to zoom in, do a close-up on this 3,000 years between 1960 BC and 960 BC. And I want to populate this a little bit. So here's Abraham. He was born here very early on, and the length of this bar down here is 175 years. That's how long Abraham lived, 175 years. And this bar in the timeline is that long. So if you were to project upwards, probably can't do this straight, but it would land about here. And that's 175 years old for Abraham. Okay. Now, Isaac was born when Abraham was 100, and Isaac lived for 180 years, and that bar is 180 years long. Jacob was born to Isaac, and he lived 147 years. And then Joseph was born, and he lived 110 years. So that's how it stacks up and how their lives overlapped. And it's the scale in the timeline. Now, a couple events happened that we all want to talk about. Abraham, as you remember, he left Haran to go to the promised land. You know, God said, it's time to leave, get going. And that was in 1879. We read that record. And then remember, Isaac was weaned. When he was weaned, officially became an heir. That was in 1849. And we read the verse, Genesis 15, verse 13, in a prior session, where God says to Abraham, know, yes, know that your offspring will live as sojourners in a land that's not theirs, and will serve them and they will afflict them 400 years. So from this verse, we find out and know that they are going to wander or sojourn in a land that's not theirs for 400 years. And at the end of it, they're going to be servants and will be afflicted by wherever they are. 400 years. Well, starting from Isaac weaning, project out 400 years. And this bar right here that says 400 years, that is 400 years long in the timeline. Now there's another verse from Exodus 12:41. We haven't read this one yet, but it says, and at the end of 430 years, Exodus 12:41, at the end of 430 years, to the very same day, all the armies of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. That's talking about the Exodus. And when you put 430 years for when Abraham left Haran, it coincides exactly with the sojourn of 400 years of the offspring. And what that means is that is when the Exodus happened in 1449 BC. And what that means is from the time of Joseph's death to the time of the Exodus, only 144 years. So think about that. There they are, the wonderful people that helped us survive the famine and all those good things that happened. And in a mere 144 years, it's so bad they've got to leave, and they leave Egypt in 144 years. So it's just interesting to see the timeline, I think, and it's important to put that in context of God's rescue and restoration plan. This is a huge moment in it. It was at risk of falling apart because the bloodline was at risk. Yet he did all these things. From Abraham, the covenants, it's still going. And here we are, got 144 years ago to the Exodus. And that is what we're going to start looking at in the next session. So thank you for being with me today in this session, and I hope you enjoyed it, and it will be useful for you. And look forward to seeing you the next one.